Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Addiction to Success. And give me 1 second. I am going to read the clarity statement real quick. Tonight, we have Michael B. that's going to share his story on his journey to recovery from active addiction. Give me 1 second. Trying to find this thing. There it is. Okay, it's not wanting to pull up. Oh, there it goes. All right. We here at the Hope Shot are a group of people in recovery spreading inspiration. We come from all different walks of life and pathways of recovery. Our verbiage may be different at times, but we all have one thing in common: recovery is a lifestyle. We support all pathways of recovery. It doesn't matter how you get from A to Z, just get there. Thank you for being a part of our family. So I wanted to explain real quick how this series works, Addiction to Success, and how it started. Last year, with everything going on, I had a friend that always asked me, because I always am addicted to more. I want more of everything. No matter where I am in life, I just want more. And he asked me one day, he said, if you were to go nowhere else, are you successful right now? And I had to really think about that and actually analyze, what does success mean to me? And if I went nowhere else, I'm successful right now, because you know what? I'm not out there lying, cheating, stealing for my addiction. I'm not disappointing my kids. I'm here being a present father. I'm here being a present husband. I'm a business owner. I'm all these things, but it was never good enough. So that really put in perspective for me. And that's how we came up with Addiction to Success, because I'm successful right now. Anybody that's on this pathway of recovery is successful right now where you're at. It doesn't matter if you go anywhere else, because we accomplished getting out of the addiction part, and that's a hell of an accomplishment. So if you're out there and you're new to recovery, man, kudos to you, and just keep moving forward. What's up, Mike? What's up, Dean? Hey, Jennifer, what's going on? And guys, if you could share this live video for us, you never know who this might help with Michael's story. We're just waiting for him to jump back on, and I'm going to introduce him as soon as he jumps back on. But I will talk about him real quick. Oh, we got Stacy. I just celebrated 1 year on the site. Congratulations, Stacy. Shout out to my buddy Dion as well. He just celebrated a year today, which is super awesome, man. I remember my first year. It was just like one of those awesome moments when you're like, damn, dude, I made it. I made it a freaking year. And like, for people like me, I wasn't supposed to make it a year. I couldn't even make it a day, let alone that. And there's multiple times that I've tried and tried and tried. But so I met Michael. He lives here where I live in Spring Hill. And, we got connected through some people. One thing, he knows my daughter. And we got connected. And, we've been going to meetings. We've been doing a few things. You can't hear me? Can you hear me, Michael? Okay. But he's a super humble guy. And he's a really good dude, and he's changed his life around, and he's going to tell you his story. Mike, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. All right. He had to log back. He had to log out and log back in. So give me 1 second. He'll be right here. Give me 1 second. He's going to come right back in. I'm going to say what's up to Stacy. Hey, with Stacy, we got Mary, Charles. What's up, Charles? And Lisa, that's his mama. She said, I'm a proud mama. Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro.
Perfect. All right, Mike. Hey, man, I'm going to give it over to you and just go ahead. Share your story, man.
All right. Well, I honestly don't know where to start. I guess I'm gonna start with this. I feel like this is a good starting point. Growing up, man, I always wanted to be a professional boxer. You know, I'm real athletic and I love sports. I boxed for a long time, but now I'm gonna backtrack a little bit to let you know, like my childhood growing up and why this didn't fit for me, why I didn't make it to the pros. Um, so growing up, I'll say I grew up in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Personally, I'm 28 right now. I grew up in a kind of rough neighborhood. I had a real loving family and stuff, a lot of support. It just the area I grew up in um, was not the best neighborhood for any child of my age. So there was a lot of older kids that I hung out with, you know, like I was around 12, 13 years old. And I picked up the hobby of riding bicycles. And so I'm riding bikes with these guys and I would beg my mom to let me go with them. And usually she would say no, but I'm like, Mom, please. So she started letting me go to these like local trails and like to go ride ramps and all this stuff. But little did she know when I was going out and hanging out with these guys, they were introducing me to like to different drugs. You know, we started smoking cigarettes and we started smoking weed. And I'm young, like I'm just now getting in junior high, and I started smoking weed. I was like about 13 years old, and I realized like I liked it. I enjoyed, you know, smoking weed, and I enjoyed the feeling of being accepted by these guys. I thought these guys thought I was cool, and I just wanted to hang out with them, and I wanted to connect with them because I looked up to them, you know. And they didn't realize what they were doing to me. They didn't realize like they were starting a pathway to destruction for me. Only thing they realized was, you know, I had money or I worked and I had a little bit of money so they could use that to manipulate their way of getting their high as well. So I soon found out that the little bit of money that I did have ran out real quick. Any addict can relate to that. So I realized I had two things I could do. One, I could stop smoking marijuana, or two, I could start selling it. So I made the decision to start selling weed, and I was about 14 years old. And for some reason, like I'm really good at math, and I'm really good at like selling stuff and however that works. I'm just good at like calculating different things. Numbers is amazing with. So I did really good at selling weed. This sounds terrible, but I did for a kid. I did all right. So now I have weed like a mass supply of it, and all the time I'm smoking, and my friends are coming and hanging out with me. So now like I went from being the kid who could barely afford to get high or to smoke marijuana to having it all the time. So I entered high school and I remember my sophomore year because I was the first group to enter high school with the freshmen when I entered high school because they just changed that where I'm from. Um, so I'm going to school and I'm bringing weed with me every day, and I'm pretty sure the principal knew, like the cop on grounds knew. They all had a feeling like what I was doing, but I was pretty slick about it. I knew they would like harass me or give me a hard time, so I would take like I don't know a good amount of weed with me, and if I didn't sell it, I would hide it before I went to school. Sometimes I would take it with me and I'd hide it in my pants, in my underwear, or whatever I had to do, you know, to get it off, to sell it, to make connections, to hustle, I guess you could say. Um, so sooner or later, I realized like I'm selling a good bit, and these kids started bringing these pain pills to school and Adderall, and they're like, "Hey, can we trade you?" And I'm like, well, "You know, what are these?" And they're like, "Oh, they're pain pills. Like you can sell them." I'm like, "All right, if I can sell them, and they're getting me for a good deal, now I'm not only am I selling weed to them, but I'm also capitalizing by selling them for more than I'm buying them for." So I ended up started buying these pain pills every day and these Adderall every day. And one of my friends is like, he's like, "Michael, like you realize we can do them too, and like get high off those as well." And I'm like, "No, really?" He's like, "Yeah." He said, "We should do it." I'm like, "All right, like you know, not one more step closer up." You know what I mean? I'm going higher up in the game. So we start crushing pain pills before school, and before we know it, we're doing this every day. And at first, it was kind of like obviously I'm not going to sit here and lie and say like you know smoking weed and like doing like getting this feeling of this rush of like acceptance and being cool wasn't fun at first because it is. 'Cause if not, no addict would do drugs, no addict would drink. No, you know what I mean? That's just the way life is. Everything starts out fun, but like shortly, you know, afterwards, like it made a twist and you don't even realize it before. Like it goes from fun to like you know hell. Um, okay, so I'm doing pain pills every day, and now I'm getting to the point if I'm not buying them at school, like if I'm not trading weed for them and someone has them, I want them. I'm going out of my way and purchasing them. So from like my sophomore year all the way up to my junior year, we're doing you know in different small pain pills like Percocets or like or excuse me, Percocets and Vicodin, basically any pain pill I could get my hands on. And I'm entering my senior year and we couldn't find none. Or excuse me, backtrack a little bit. I remember going and meeting one of my like best friends, and she was a girl, and she's probably watching this right now. And I went to her house to buy some, and she had just got one of her teeth pulled, and she had like 15 pain pills or something. And I'm like, "Oh, please, I need them." And she's like, "Michael," she's like, well, "Look at yourself." She's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "If you don't stop doing these every day, She's like, you're gonna become a heroin addict before you're 25. And I'm like, man, quit it. I was like, you know you're better than that. Like, I ain't gonna be no heroin addict. What are you talking about? And you know, the sad thing is, like, I proved it wrong. You know, I didn't make it 25. I was a heroin addict at 18. You know, so you know, about 6 months later, 7 months later, I couldn't find the pain pills, and I remember like, we looked all day long. Me and my best friend at the time being still like my best friend, and we looked all day long and couldn't find any. And he ended up calling his brother-in-law, and was like, "Hey, he's like, can you find any pain pills?" He's like, "No, we can't find any." He's like, "But I can find some OxyContins if you guys are familiar with them. I know they were bad in Florida for a long time." And I'm like, all right, like anything. He's like, it's the same thing. It's just a Percocet, but a lot stronger and, you know, a lot more expensive. But at the time being, I was still selling weed, and I was still, like I said, I'm pretty good at money management. I'm pretty good with numbers. So I had a steady flow of money, and I'm working on the side. Like, not only am I selling weed, I actually had started my own landscaping company around my senior year, and I was doing pretty good with it too. Like, I worked in the place called the Strigler District in town, and that's like downtown of Parkersburg, West Virginia, where like all the nice rich houses are, and like a lot of old ones. And I had like a good thing going for myself. I ran the flower club, and that sounds silly, but it was beautiful. You know, like I enjoyed that. So, and I'm selling weed on the side, and no one has enough. So I have money coming in, and I have no bills to pay. Like, I'm still living at my mom's house. I mean, obviously, if she needed money, I would help her out. Like, I helped cut my friend's parents out a couple times, and but in reality, I had all this money coming in, and I didn't have nothing to do with it. So my friend's like, I can get some of these OxyContins if you're interested. I'm like, yeah, let's go get some. And we get to his house, and he's like, how do you guys do them? Like, we snort them. And he's like, oh, I can show you a better way. And anytime you hear better way in recovery or addiction or just life, like, step back and think about it, because there's no better way. Like, that's never a good thing. A better way is never good. And okay, so I'm like, what's the better way? And he's like, here, try it like this. And he introduced me to foil and a straw. And what we had did was we crushed these pills up, and we had smoked them. And what that it did was it like opened all new doorways to me. Like, it went from like, you know, snorting some pills, and an hour later it kicking into like smoking it, and it kicks in within minutes. So this was mind blowing to me. Like, this opened up a whole new like doorway for me. I'm like, heck yeah, like this is amazing. And so I ended up buying like way more than I should have that day. And I forget the exact. I think my plan was to buy one when we got there, and after feeling the rush from it, and like the, you know, the buzz, and like that feel, that euphoric feeling, I ended up buying like five. I spent like, I don't even know how much money, hundreds of dollars. My first time ever trying them, I spent hundreds of dollars. And long story short, we had did like all of them in the first couple of days, and now like the next day, you know, I wake up and I might have one or two left. I'm not sure to be exact, but we ran out, and I'm like, you know what? Instead of buying these weak pain pills, my buddy's got, I got some. I'm like, no way, I'm going back and I want them oxys. Like, that's where it's at, you know. And so now, like, I went from, you know, a small time pain pill addict to getting to a serious one. Like, I made a whole leap, like, you know. So um, I'm still in my senior year. I'm getting closer to the end of the year, and I have been using these oxys for almost every day for about, you know, 3 or 4 months. And I wasn't like it wasn't like a you know, a one pill kind of guy. Like, that sounds sad, but like I said, I had money and my friends, and we'd all come together, and I go buy these, and we would all pitch in or whatever it took, you know, to get as many as possible. We just hang out and ride around in my car late at night, and, you know, do these pills and smoke them. Like, I'm pretty sure I kept like the aluminum foil company. I think it's Reynolds Wrap. I'm pretty sure I kept them in business for like 3 or 4 years. I literally went through cases like in my doorway, in my door. Like, I remember getting pulled over numerous times, and in my door, I'd have aluminum foil roll of Reynolds Wrap. They're like, "What's this for?" I'm like, "I don't know. We're going to a charcoal tonight." They're like, "Okay," but and that's serious. That happened numerous times, and so, and anyone who like rode around with me back in the day knows like I had that in my car. So it came down to it. Like, now I'm like, I went from like, you know, doing these pain pills to having fun to like, now I developed an addiction, and now I need these things. Like, now we're getting serious. Now it's getting like, you know, if you don't have these things, you know, by noon, 1 o'clock, I'm in school. I'm already texting my buddy like, hey, what's up? Line me up. I'm gonna be there soon. And you know, as soon as school was getting out, and like I started like dodging everything else. I was supposed to be at work. You know what I mean? And like 4 o'clock, I have an hour to get home, get my truck, get my tools, and get to work. And instead, that I'm going and waiting at my buddy's house for an hour until 5, 6 o'clock till he gets back with these pills, so I can get some pills before I go to work. And luckily, I had worked for myself, or, you know, I would have lost everything off the jump. I'd have been fired. And people I had worked for, they started questioning me. They're like, you know, why are you showing up late? This and that. Like, you're not getting the job done. You're leaving early. You're coming late. Like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, I just got a lot going on with school, and I'm trying to set up for college. And they're like, all right, we're worried about you. And I'm like, all right, everything's fine. So I graduate school, and I'm kind of book savvy, which is kind of weird because you wouldn't probably think that coming from a person who's a drug addict, and from where I grew up at, like, the principal told me in 10th grade, he knew I was selling weed, remind you, that you're not going to make it through high school. He said, why don't you go ahead and drop out now because you're not going to graduate. And I made a devotion to myself and my mom that I was going to graduate. So I ended up graduating high school in May, um, 2011. And I was like, I want to go to college. So I come from a low end family. Like we grew up in poverty, and my mom worked every day all my life. She's always busted her ass to put food on the table. And I had a wonderful stepdad, and he did the same thing. Like they literally worked day in and day out, day out. But like even though we lived in a bad neighborhood, like we still struggled, but they worked their ass off to pay for the food on the table and to keep the electrical on and all that fun stuff. And they were always there for me. Okay, so I'm like, I want to go to college. My mom's like, we better sign up for financial aid because I can't afford it. She's like, I better keep the electric bill on. I'm like, all right, yes, mom. And so I made good grades in high school, and I signed up for financial aid, and I signed up for a couple different grants, and I got accepted. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to college. Like, what's up? And I'd already been going to college too, like half the day in high school. That's why I was getting, selling drugs more, is because I would leave school like my junior and senior year. I would leave halfway through the day and go to college for an electrical program, and which at the end certified me. I'm now a certified electrician, but so I'm leaving halfway through the day. So I'm already have college credits built up, and they see that I make good grades in college. Like, all right, yeah, here's a couple grants for you. We want to see you do good. I'm like, okay. So I graduate high school, and I enroll at WVUP Parkersburg. It's like the lower brother school of WV Morgantown, and I do good. Like my first semester, the first half, I'm doing decent, but then like halfway through, I remember like back of my hand, like I remember it's bad. I missed like a week straight, and that's because my buddy who I was getting these oxys from, he left town and he went like I'm not sure where he went, but he was gone for like a week or two, and I had nowhere to go to get these things. So I'm uh, like where can I find more of these pills at? And no one had them. And I remember we were sitting in Tim Hortons parking lot. If you're familiar with Parkersburg, it was on Fifth Avenue, Fifth Street, right below Fifth Street Bridge, and we're sitting in Tim Hortons parking lot, and there's like 4 or 5 people in my car, and it's like it's like springtime. I just got out of high school. Excuse me. It might be April or May. It's hot. I'm sweating. We're all sweating. I mean, if you know anybody addiction, you know what it is. I had diarrhea. I went in the bathroom and puked 3 or 4 times in like an hour while we're sitting here waiting in the middle of the day. I mean, no, there's a million things we could be doing, but instead we're sitting in the parking lot of Tim Hortons in the middle of town because we want to feed up our addiction. So we couldn't find anything. And my buddy's like, listen, he's like, I just called my dude's brother and he said he has some heroin. I'm like, hell no, we ain't doing no heroin. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, look at us. We're better than that. We ain't no junkies. And he's like, all right, man. He's like, I'm just saying. He said it's the same thing. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. We'll find some pain pills. So we wait like another hour. I puke a little bit more. I poop a little bit more. You know what I mean? And my friends are saying the same thing. They're like, man, we should just maybe go check it out. I'm like, you know what? You guys want to? And they're like, let's just go see what it's like. So we called dude up, like, hey, can we come see what this is? He's like, yeah, for sure. He knew we was hooked already. If we're going there to look at it, we're buying it. He's like, oh yeah, come on in. So I go over to this dude's house. I don't even know him, let me say, mind you, but he knew I had the money. And we go over there, and my buddy's like, can you come in? He's like, oh yeah, bring him on in here. I want to show him what it's like. So we go inside, and he pulls out foil because he knew I had smoked. He pulled out foil and a straw and everything, just like the pain pills. And he's like, I told you it's the exact same thing. It just looks different. And I'm like, all right, well, let me see what it's like. And like I remind you, like I had been shitting, so I'm sweating at the time being. I'm 18 years old and I can't sit still. I'm miserable. I look like I have the flu times 10. The coronavirus ain't got nothing on addiction. Um, so I'm sitting there and he's like, here, try this. And literally I take one hit off this stuff. He's like, hit it easy. I hit it one time. And within like 30 seconds of me blowing that smoke out, my cold sweats, my shaking, my diarrhea, my, just miserable, itchy feeling, my skin crawling, that everything, my backaches was gone. In 30 seconds, it was gone. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think that feels amazing. He's like, I told you it's good. It gets better. I'm like, all right, like how much you got? He's like, how much you want? I'm like, well, come to find out, it's a little bit cheaper, but it's also the buzz don't last as long, and it's way worse. You know what I mean? I didn't realize it, so I ended up buying some, and God forbid, man, I went back and hung out with to people I was with, and one of them was my girlfriend. Now this is terrible. I've actually told anybody this, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop a bomb real quick. Hopefully, she's watching. She can forgive me, man, because I said I love for her. She's a beautiful girl. So I go back and get in the car. We drive back down to Tim Hortons. I think it was me with Tim Hortons, and she's like, "What'd you get?" I'm like, "Well, I got some pain pills. I got these oxys, but these have been free based." I lied to her. I said these were free based. Kind of thinking I was doing heroin. I'm like, "These are free based." I was like, "There's no cut in these." And she's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, they're the same thing. It's a raw form." And she's like, "All right." I'm like, "But you don't want to do it though." And she's addicted just like me. And she's like, "The hell I don't. What are you talking about? Hell yeah, I'm doing it." I'm like, "All right." So we smoked some, and obviously, it's my girlfriend, so I let her smoke some. And so now I just introduced this young female to heroin, man. And I didn't realize what I was doing. I didn't realize, I just introduced all my friends in the back seat to heroin and myself. Like, we just took a right and jumped up the side of a bridge. Um, so yeah, from there on out, man, it got bad. They went from buying these pain pills to buying heroin on a daily basis. I mean, it started off slow because, like, you do like a little bit of heroin and the buzz is so strong, you never know what you're going to get too. Like, some days it'll be so strong, some days it'll be weak. Some people like it give you fake stuff, like, and it was like, man, like, well, I missed the pills because then I knew what I was getting every time. But once you get the heroin, like, the pills stop working. You know what I mean? You try heroin sometimes, the pills, like, you don't get that same euphoric feeling. You don't get that same, like, whoa, you get that buzz. Because when you do drugs, like, no matter what drug you're doing, um, you get that one buzz, and then you're always chasing that same buzz, that same feeling, and that's why people overdose, because they do more and more, thinking, I want to chase that same buzz I had that first time, that one time. And in reality, there is no first time. There is no going back and trying it that one time, get that same buzz from, 6 months ago when you tried that good stuff. That's never going to happen. So constantly, I get that feeling off the heroin for the first time. I'm constantly chasing it, and I'm doing more and more and more. And before you know it, I'm at this guy's house 5, 6 times a day. I'm his best friend. Like, he calls me, he got the door open waiting on me. He got everything laid out, full bent up for me, straws on the table, like the whole 9 yards. Um, and one day, this is crazy, actually. I just thought of this too. One day, this is like 6 months later, where I have, I'm still working the landscaping business, but it's getting slower because I'm pushing it off. And this is like I think it's towards the end of my first semester of college. This is the end of summertime of my after graduation of high school, and I'm hanging out at my friend's house right behind the same Tim Hortons that we was at 2 months ago, where I first tried heroin. And my buddy's like, "Hey man," he's like, "You ever did needles?" I'm like, "Hell no, I never did needles." And he's like, "You want to?" I'm like, "Nah." He's like, "It's better. There's that better again. I told you about that. There's that better again." I'm like, "Man, I don't want to do that." And he's like, "All right, see, I'm going to." And so there's like 5, 6 of my good buddies, and they all get influenced by this older guy, of course. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it." So he does it in front of us, and we all see him do it. We're like, "Oh, ain't that bad?" And he gets plastered. He gets the same feeling we've been chasing for months now. And so a couple of my good friends do it. And as soon as I see them do it, I'm like, I'm good. I'm gonna keep smoking. I kept smoking it, and I'm not getting no feeling. And they're like falling down and looking crazy, and I'm like, I don't want like that. So, long story short, right behind Tim Hortons, 3 months later, 2 or 3 months later, for my first time trying heroin, I'm introduced to the needle, and I tried, and it was terrible and amazing at the same time. I mean, I won't say it's amazing because it was not amazing, but the feeling that I got, I thought was amazing. You know what I mean? I got that feeling I was searching for 2 months now. That first buzz, I got that, like, that mind blowing of acceptance, that feeling of, like, escaping reality. No longer was, I struggling with, what I mean, my low self esteem and irresponsibility and this acceptance, and I found it. I was gone, and so now I realize, like, this is what I want to do. This is my new thing, my new go to, and so we start shooting it on a daily basis. We no longer are we smoking it. A couple of my friends still smoke it, but, like, that's not us no more. The ones that are close to us, we're going hard. We're cool, and so we're shooting it for like couple years. But let me slow down real quick. I just now start my second semester, and my grades had dropped my first semester of college down to C's, and one was a D, and my grade point average dropped down to, like, maybe like a 1.8. And the financial aid lady said, she's like, "Listen," she's like, "you're on financial probation." She's like, "If you don't get your grades up," and she's like, "and you can't miss more than 3 days," she's like, "we're gonna take your financial aid. You're gonna have to pay for cash for your next semester." And I'm like, "Dang, like, that ain't gonna work. You know what I mean? I can't afford this." I was like, "Working or not, I've developed a heroin addiction now. I can barely afford that. I'm not working right. For real, I'm spending all my money from selling weed and then some. I owe that guy money. He's mad at me, and So I'm like, all right. I was like, I can do this. I can keep my grades up. School's nothing. You know, I'm always good at school. So I get that first my second semester of college starts, and I'm doing good. You know, as a functioning addict, as everyone says, I'm a functioning addict. No such thing as a functioning addict. I don't care what you say. Um, I can relate. I've been there, you know, because you start out good, and it's like I said, off the side of a cliff. So we're doing heroin every day, you know, full blown addict, and it's like every like third day, you know, my dude just decides to leave town for some reason. I'm like, bro, like I need you. Like, what are you doing? So like I start missing school, and I would show up late, and they said I could miss 3 days. So I missed 2 days, and you know, they called me to the counselor's office, or the guidance counselor, basically like the financial aid lady. She's like, when I need to talk to you. I'm like, all right, you know, pulls me out of class. Um, she's like, listen, she's like, you know, you missed one more day. She's like, you can't finish the semester. She's like, you know, you will lose your scholarship, lose your financial aid, and you know, you ain't gonna keep going here. I'm like, yes, ma'am. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. My grades were good, but I'm missing school. And she's like, don't miss no more. She's like, it's done. I'm like, yes, ma'am. So I go like 2 more weeks. I'm doing good. I'm meeting my buddy early in the morning. I'm going to school for a couple hours a day. Still working in the evening times, doing my landscaping thing. But it's slowing down big time. Obviously, the summertime is almost over, so it's already slowing down. But also, like I'm not showing up on time, so a couple of people found other businesses, other landscapers, and I think they kind of give me thumbs up. Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
All right, sorry about that. That was my little brother, man. He's currently incarcerated, and you know, what I mean, that he was one of the ones that was in that car with me. You know, he's one of the ones that rode around with me. That was, you know, living that same lifestyle. Bless his heart. I pray for him every day. Um, so I'm going to school, I'm doing this and that. I meet my dude every day, and finally, it was like I want to say it was like a Wednesday or Thursday afternoon. I don't want to lie, but I remember it was a math class, and this dude was a dick, man. There's no like cutting this dude's class, no nothing. Like he's going to turn in. Like I had a B in his class, but it don't matter. Like there's no he's not cutting me no breaks. And so I call my buddy up. I'm like, hey man, like I need to meet you right now. And he's like, listen, he's like, I can't. He's like, I'm picking up, blah blah blah. He's like, I can't meet you for about an hour and a half. I'm like, man, my class is gonna be over. Yeah, I was like, my class starts in like 45 minutes. And he's like, listen, he's like, if you want it, you got to be there. He's like, I'm not waiting in town. He's like, I'm gonna be in town maybe 45 minutes to an hour, and I'm gone. He's like, you miss me, you're done for. I'm like, dang. I'm like, just try to hurry for me, bro. Make it quick. I'm like, maybe he could meet me in the middle. I can meet him somewhere, shave some time off. I can walk in late, act like I pop my tire, and I'll be all right. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to lose school. You know, I'm trying to be successful. Uh, Long story short, man, I sit in McDonald's parking lot in traffic circle, which if you're from Parkersburg, you know, like it's where every addict sits at for hours. And I'm sitting there, and I'm there like an hour, and I'm like, class has already started. I call him, I call him like 100 times, and no answer, no answer, no answer. I keep sitting there. I'm like, if I leave, he's gonna show up. You know what I mean? Then I don't want to miss out. I'm sick. I'm shaking. You know what I mean? Uh, and he didn't show up. You know, so I sat there and I skipped school and I lost my financial aid, and this guy never even showed up to give me the drugs that I needed. I ended up meeting him later that night at like 10 o'clock at night or something. He said something came up, this and that. So I ended up throwing my whole scholarship away due to my addiction. So now I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. I keep using every day. You know what I mean? I'm missing work, this and that. It's like the fall time. And people start telling me at work that my landscape business are like, listen, they're like, next year, like, you know, after this year, blah, 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 we appreciate everything you did, and you did real good work. We appreciate you, but you know, we think we're gonna move on to somewhere else, somewhere bigger. It's not you, it's us. We're trying to develop something here, and I didn't know that, like, you know, what I mean, I had a chance to grow with these people. I was choosing my addiction. I was being late to work. I was doing this and that, and you know, I had an opportunity as a child, as a young man, to develop something successful, and so I'm like, all right, you know, it's okay. Someone else will want my work, you know. And in reality, they didn't. You know, they didn't want me at all. And so, like, at the end of that summer of 2011, I think I had like 2 or 3 people that wanted me to come back and work for them the next year. And I'm like, all right, you know, I'll try to make a turnaround. I'm gonna quit using it anyways. It was just temporary. Well, that year comes around, I'm still using. I'm out of school, so now I'm just full blown selling drugs and driving around in my car late at night. Remind you, my mom always told me and all my friends, she's like, nothing happens at late at night when the street lights are on except for trouble. Well, I didn't listen to her. You know, we never listen to our parents. You know, what I mean, of course we don't. They don't know anything. So I'm getting pulled over like every like at least once a night, maybe 2 times every 2 days, excuse me, every 2 3 days I'm getting pulled over. Like a cop sees me and I'm in my car, I'm getting pulled over regardless. Like they knew what I was doing. They knew I was selling weed. They knew I was selling heroin if someone wanted it. They knew I was trouble. You know what I mean? Every cop in town knew me. They pull me over. There's a canine already on the way. They don't even give me time to question me or nothing. Like they're on me. Long story short, I can't. I'm losing. I lost my business. You know what I mean, that summer because no one's wanting me to come mow their grass or to weed their flower bed in the wintertime. So now I'm starting to sell my tools. You know, I'm selling my. I had a street bike at the time being. You know, at the beginning of my addiction, after working so much, I had a car, a truck, a street bike, a dirt bike, and I come from poverty, man. You know what I mean? That Christmas, you know, when I was in high school, I had bought my mom a truck. You know, I bought for myself and I used it for a little bit, but then I gave it to her because I had gotten a new vehicle. And saying that, like, if you knew where I come from, like, people would be mind blown. Like, you know, what I mean, my friends know like where I grew up at, and it's unbelievable that I was able to do this. But now I'm selling everything, so I'm like, I ain't got the income, and I'm still addicted to heroin. So now I'm selling my street bike first. I'm like, I don't need this thing. You know what I mean? I don't even ride it for real. It's cold out. Sold my street bike. Boom. Next thing you know, 2 weeks later, I ran out of money. Now I'm selling my dirt bike. Boom. And then I'm like, you know, what I mean, it's like this money stream is going from like up here, you know, as a kid to down fast, real fast. And it got down to like all I had left was my car, my tools, and my little work truck. And well, I'm running around late at night, like my mom told me not to do. And we went to a bar because I was going to sell some weed or something. And we're leaving, and it's raining outside. And I always thought I was like a NASCAR driver. Like I had a little sports car with 5 speed, and I just thought I was too cool for school. And I was high on drugs, high on heroin, and I'm driving this, you know, this souped up car that's, you know, is really nice for the time being. And I'm trying to drift around the corner. I don't even know why I was doing it. And I went off the side of the road, and I had like 5 people, like including myself. There was 5 people in my car, and I went off the side of the road, and I hit a tree going like 30, and totaled it. You know, this is like a brand new car at the time being. This car's like 6 years old, turbocharged. It's a Volkswagen Jetta. Like if you're familiar with that, it's actually a very nice vehicle. Um, I totaled it, and I remember like I was like, "Dang, we gotta get out of here." So the guy that I'm with, he was the reason we got in the bar because he was 21 and he like was buying us drinks and like this and that. And he takes off running. And he's like, I gotta go. He's like, I can't go to jail. I'm like, all right, bro. So he takes off running. I pull out of there, and somehow my car's still running. Like the whole front's busted in, the radiator's busted, the lights don't work. I pull out of there. I drive to the gas station down the street, and I leave it there. So now my car's totaled. So that it's worthless, and I can't claim on insurance because it's the scene of the crime. I'm drinking. So if the cops came and I claim it, first of all, I had liability. But if I try claiming it, like I'm getting a DUI, I'm going to jail. I'm like, you know what? I'll just pay for a new one. Little did I know, there's no paying for a new one. Like you have nothing. So I parked my car at the gas station right across down the street, like across the street, BP corner. Uh, and my buddy picks me up. They're like, "Oh, what are you gonna do?" I'm like, "Oh no, I'll figure it out tomorrow." I tow my car home the next day, and it's a total waste. There's no fixing it. We tried to fix it and ruined it worse. So now all I have is my truck and my tools, and I still need money. I still need to get high. So I end up like next thing I know is like start selling tools. So I started with like my little weed eaters and lawnmowers and all my little yard tools. And before you know it, like that spring came around and I didn't have anything, you know, in a year. So now I'm like, you know, went from doing good and living all right to struggling and not having nothing but my little work truck. It was a Ford Ranger. And I got like 4 or 5 car wrecks in it. It was all beat up. And, you know, my life was going to hell. It was trash. You know, I mean, I was on a road of destruction. And anyone who came in contact with me, I was either ripping, robbing, selling, bringing them down, introducing them to drugs. I mean, and I didn't realize what I was doing until I got sober. I'm like, dang, excuse my Lord. You know, you ruining people's lives. Like, you know, you introduce these people to drugs. They didn't even know what they were doing. Like, they went from smoking weed to seeing you smoke these pills. And, you know, my bad. I just got a text from my buddy. He's like, what's the link I want to watch? But I'm jumping them all through all this stuff. And now they're you know, they're getting introduced to heroin because I'm riding around a car. I'm like, here, you want to try this? You got money here? Try this. We ain't gonna buy no weed. Try this. And now I'm introducing everybody to this stuff just so I can get more, so I can feed my addiction. And I cause a big impact in my hometown, and it's not for a good thing. That's why I try so hard now to be, you know, to help people. So I'm about 20, 21 years old. I'm still using every day, and my life went for the worst. I went from living, you know, with my mom and stuff to moving out. Um, I moved in with one of my buddies. I'm sleeping on his couch and stuff. Remind you, like we didn't have utilities. Like my mom's bringing water to my house. Like she's like, Michael, why don't you just come home? I'm like, oh, mom, I'm cool here. Like my friends are here. And for real, in reality, it was like a trap house. Like we tried our best, but it's like we didn't have electric, we didn't have water, we didn't have. I think we had gas at the time being because it was wintertime and we was using the stove for heat. Um, but we had drugs, and so like I went from doing good to doing real bad in like a blink of an eye. I went from being fun and enjoying it, like I said earlier, to getting better and feeling better, doing better, to losing everything. So I remember I'm still using every day, and I'm doing bad, and I'm sick, and I go to my friend's house, and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. We're trying to school or meet somebody to get some heroin, and my buddy's like, hey, he's like, he shows up. There's a couple older guys show up, like, hey, have you ever did meth? And I'm like, no. And I'm like, I'm getting ready to turn 22. I'm like, no, like I've been using drugs all my life and I've heard about this stuff, but I never used it. Like, let me try it out and see if you like it. I'm like, all right, like it'll get rid of your withdrawals. So I'm like, all right. So I try this stuff, and it's like it took my withdrawals away, and now I'm like wide awake. Like my eyes are like super crazy, and I think this is what, like, when I started using methamphetamines, it's what made my mom realize that I had a problem. Other than her realizing that I sold all my stuff and lost school, I mean, she probably realized I had a problem then, but she didn't realize what I was doing. Maybe she just thought I was just hanging out with wrong people and partying too much. But I started doing meth, and for about, I would say, 6 months to a year, about a year, I had lost like 40 pounds, and my face was all sunk in, and I remember my mom seeing me one day, and I'm leaving her house to go meet my buddy down the street, and she's like, I'm walking down the street and I'm holding my pants up, and I guess I forgot a belt, and these pants used to fit me, and like they're like 3 sizes too big, and I'm like, Mom, I'll be back in a little bit. I take off running. She's like, Michael. I'm like, what? Mom, I gotta go. She's like, you look terrible. She's like, you can't even hold your pants up. She's like, don't come back. I'm like, all right. So I leave, and I go meet my buddy, blah blah blah, do this and that, and my face starts getting bad. My nose is always red. I'm always scratching my face, and I'm always staying up a little late. And I told my dad, like, I'm staying in my truck, Dad. My buddy lost his house. I'm sleeping in my truck wherever I can, couch to couch. And he's like, well, I don't want you sleeping out, my biological father. He's like, why don't you move in with me? He's like, I have a bed for you. You can stay here. And I'm like, you sure? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right. What I mean? So move in his house. I'm staying with my dad, and he works late. He works at a gambling hall, so he goes out like 3 or 4 o'clock afternoon, and don't come home till like 3:30, 4 a.m. And he's coming home, and I'm wide awake. I got people in the house, and like I'm like watching TV. He's like, hey, what the hell you do? He's like, you not like sleep during this time. When do you sleep? I'm like, oh, I sleep all the time. You know what I mean? He's like, 3:30 in the morning, and you're wide awake. He's like, I'm only awake because I work. I'm like, I'm sorry, Dad. He's like, you got a problem. I'm like, no, I'm good. And like I said, I'm 120 pounds, and I think I'm He-Man. Um, so I'm running with the wrong people. I went from being boxing. I skipped that whole boxing thing too. I forgot about that. Um, I boxed for like 5 years. I fought all over West Virginia, Ohio, Kentucky. But as soon as I started, like, this is like from like 16 to like, about 19, 20 years old, my boxing record, like I was doing real good. And it's like, shit, you can almost look at my record and see like when I saw it. Cause I lost like 1 or 2 matches, and I started like steady declining. I started smoking cigarettes, and I started really doing bad. And then finally I just stopped boxing. I was like 19, 20, 21 years old, something like that. I'm not real sure. Maybe 20. I just quit. I loved it, but I was going to boxing with track marks on my arm. And I remember one day the coach is like, he's like, Michael, your arm's bleeding. And there's track marks from my wrist to the inside of my elbow, and literally like dots. I'm like, oh yeah, they're mosquito bites. He's like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm all right. I wiped it off. We kept boxing. And I just gave it up. I gave it up. So I'm gonna jump back forward a little bit. Now I'm doing methamphetamines, and I'm doing bad. And if you know anything about meth, like it makes you like hallucinate. It makes you very violent. It makes you angry at all times. You're not eating right. Um, Obviously, you lose a bunch of weight. You're sleep deprived. You're in fear. Everyone's out to get you. Your anxiety is through the roof. Your depression is through the roof. Um, I mean, in reality, I'd say it's probably the worst drug. No drug's good, but I mean, I would put meth in like the top. Um, and that made me like mean. It made me bad. It made me mean. It made me evil. I remember I was hanging out with the wrong people in the wrong place, wrong time, just like we all been there. I'm at a trap house, because I'm very rarely in my home. And me and my buddies hanging out, and I had drugs and stuff. I remember like I had drugs and I was doing not good, but I mean for an addict who doesn't have anything, I had like a couple grams of this and a couple grams of that and some cigarettes. So I mean I was doing good. I had cigarettes, um, and my buddy's making like steaks and stuff that he stole, of course. I mean we ain't paying for steaks, uh, so we're eating dinner and stuff. And my buddy goes and sells some stuff, some tools, and he gets some heroin. He does it. And he's like Michael. He's like let me borrow some money. And I'm like, no, I'm not giving you no money, bro. And he's like, give me some money. And I've been up like 2 weeks. So I'm like hallucinating. Everyone's out to get me. I'm like, no, I'm not giving you nothing. He's like, you're giving me your money. I'm going to take it. And this is like a dude I've been hanging out with like every day for 6 months. Like literally, he's been staying at my dad's house. Um, like he's wearing my clothes. My clothes are sitting like right beside him. You know what I mean? Like we're hanging out. He's living with me basically. Um, and I'm like, I'm not giving you nothing. He's like, if you don't give me your money, I'm taking it. We get in an argument, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit, but we get in an argument, man, over drugs. And this led me to be incarcerated, man. I ended up getting locked up, facing a lot of time. And everyone's like, what I mean, you get locked up, you get sober. That's not the truth. I was facing life when I first got locked up. For a long time, I was facing life until I went to trial. Um, and if I wish I could say like when I first got locked up, I got sober, but if I did, I would be lying. And that's a good thing about recovery is you got to be honest. So I didn't get sober, man, for like I was sober for like 5 months, 6 months, and I used. The drugs came in. As soon as drugs got there, I was just abstinent. As soon as drugs came in, boom, I used. Weed came in, I smoked. We made some wine, I drank it. More drugs came in, I used. And so I went to trial, and I got blessed by God, man. I got an out date. And they gave me 15 years, and I had to do a quarter of that, man, and which is still a long time. I had to do 4 years. I did everything I could when I was incarcerated to do better for myself. Put myself in Bible study around old people, like people that could like help me out spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. I got in every class possible. I got enrolled in school and stuff like that. But before I got enrolled in school, it was July 3rd, and I'm still using. But only here and there. And some drugs came in. I told my buddy I was gonna quit. Some opiates came in, basically like a pain pills, Suboxone. I'll never forget. And my buddy, he slept beside me. He's like, "Hey, he's like, you want to do something? It's July 3rd, 2018." I'm like, "Nah, I'm good." He's like, "Oh, bro, let's chill. It's the 4th of July tomorrow." I'm like, "All right." So we used, and I woke up the next day on the 4th of July. Me and my homeboys, or people from my hometown, was in there with me. We were just gonna have a cookout. We was gonna make hamburgers and make the best out of a really bad situation. It's something you do in prison. I go outside, man. I'm talking to my friend, and I'm crying. I'm talking to my man. I had that guilt, that anguish. Depression. I'm like, man, I used last night. I got high, and he's in a treatment facility inside a prison, which is amazing. They have a community, like a recovery thing inside a prison, and he's like, why don't you make he's like, let's make a devotion. He's like, you want to quit? And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm crying. Please, I want to quit. He's like, I'll make a devotion between me, you, and God right now. And he's like, you quit using drugs. And this used to be my plug, one of my drug dealers, or my drug dealers to my friends, anyways. And me, you, and God, we won't use again. I'm like, you'll do that for me? And he's like, yeah, bro, right now, let's make this devotion. So we pray about it. And this is July 4th, 2018, and I'm sitting under the tree on the yard of St. Mary's Prison. Surrounded by a bunch of inmates. And I made a devotion that day to change my life. And he's like, look, he's like, I'm gonna do you a favor. I'm like, what? He's like, I'm gonna get you in this treatment facility down here. I'm like, it's called RSA. I'm like, you ain't gonna be able to do that. Ain't no one accepting me. They said I'm not a drug addict. He's like, Michael, you've been shooting dope for 10 years, 5 years. He's like, you're getting in treatment. I'm like, all right. So I go to this little program called RSA, and I take everything serious. Like you said, I'm a more kind of guy too. I like doing everything to the most. I mean, I want to be the best at everything. That's one of my problems. Not just with addiction. Like I want to be the best at basketball. I want to be the best football player. I want to be the best at this. I want to be the best chess player. I want to be the best book reader. I want to, be more. So I got this program, man, and I wanted like now I'm hanging out with people who want to be sober. So now what I want to do, I want to be the best sober person I can be. I want to be positive. I want to be a role model. I want to be an inspiration. I'm like, yeah, let's go. So, I'm talking in every group. I'm standing up. And expounding is what they call it. And I'm expounding on every term, sometimes 2 times a day. Most people don't even want to expound one time. I'm like standing up, like, I'll do it. I'll do it. Because I want to do good, this counselor's like, Michael, he's like, I could see you really change. He's like, I'm glad you're down here. He's like, I want to make you the senior coordinator, which means that I ran the program for that house. It was 2 houses. I'm like, I don't think I could do that. Like, you don't know me. Like, you know what I mean? I'll rob, anybody, rip this person, I'll pay that person. Like, you know what I mean? I'm a nobody. Like, I lost everything I had to my addiction. And he's like, I trust you. I'm like, dang, this guy, you don't even know me. You trust me? So I get this program, I'm running it, and I know we're cutting short on time, so I'm gonna try to speak up a little bit. It changes my life, man. I get in there, I run this program. I'm literally the mentor the whole time. I graduate and stuff. I'm mentoring some guys in school. I'm a tutor. I help some guy get his GED, man. I tutor him every day for like 4 months in the morning for an hour a day to help him get his GED, and he got it. You know what I mean? Because of me. And I'm gonna say because of me, and not me, but because I helped tutor him. Like he said, he couldn't do it on his own. You want to help? I'll help you. So by grace of God, man, about a year later, I got paroled, and I got a chance to get out, to do good, to put my feet, to the road. Everyone says that's where it gets real, and I'm like, all right. So this is I got out in March of this year, and I knew, like, I mean, I could have went back to my hometown and been just as successful. I'm not going to say I couldn't, because there's a lot of good recovery in my hometown right now. There's a lot of guys that are doing some amazing things, and I commend you guys. Like, if y'all's watching, you know who you are. Y'all's role models for me. But I ended up moving to Florida. That's where I live at now. I live right outside Tampa. Uh, I love it down here, man. I met you, Justin. You know what I mean? I actually heard about you through my cousin, and I met your daughter, and she's like, meet my dad. I'm like, all right, what's his name? And she gives me your number. I'm like, I got his number right here. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah. So long story short, man, we linked up. We went to a couple meetings, and it's really helped me out. I met some good people down here. I was out for about a week, man, and I landed a job in a restaurant. I'll backtrack a little bit. I landed a job at a restaurant. It's about a mile and a half from my house, and I knew I needed to get a steady income. I needed to get my license, the car, all the essentials. So I'm walking to work every day. My aunt, she gave me a ride for like the first couple of days in the morning time, and I'll walk home. Well, I time myself how long it took me to walk home in the evening time, and I know I'm a little bit tired and I'm wore out. So it takes me about an hour to walk. If I'm walking slow, about 55 minutes to be exact. And so I know, like, if I leave in the morning at 7, I'll be there by 8 for sure. And so I'm doing that every day. And then a couple of times I'd run a little bit late, and I would leave and I would speed walk. I'd get there in 45 minutes if I really, like, almost jog, like speed walk. It's 1.8 miles to be exact. So I'm doing that, and I save money up, and I go get my license. I pay all my fines off, and I go get my license, take the test. I pass it my first time. Told you guys I'm kind of book savvy for some reason. I pass it, get my license back. So now I'm saving money up again, and my neighbor gets a car for sale, and I'm like, man, I'd like to have that car. And I had some money saved up, and I got my paycheck. I'm like, look, I'll buy it. And they're like, all right. They kind of knew a little bit about me. They knew I just moved here and knew I was struggling, so they cut me a good deal on it. I bought this car, so now I have a car. I end up finding another job. I told you guys earlier, I'm a certified electrician. I got my apprenticeship license. I got like all the little like safety, the OSHA safety cards and stuff like that. I'm pretty good at it. I got a job working at an electrical company, and I was there for like 3 months, and I love the company and the experience I had through them. It's just some stuff was happening there. I'm in recovery. I'm not talking bad about them. Just some stuff that's happening in that environment that it was not good for me, and I didn't want to backtrack. I came too far, and I knew, like, it just wasn't good for me right now. I don't know anybody here, and I knew a couple of people, but it wasn't good, and I needed to get out of there. So I told him, I think I put my 2-week notice in, and I knew I needed to find another job. Well, later that night, this is like a gift from God. Later that night, I'm on this thing called Spring Hill Community or something, and some girl posted about rehab hiring. And I'm like, what? And so I messaged her, and she's like, yeah, come apply. She's like, you'd be a great candidate. So I go there and I apply, and I get the job. I explain my story, I'm in recovery, all this stuff. And I'm still in school. I missed that part. Sorry. I'm still in school, and I told her I was about to graduate. I've been in school this whole time from when I was in prison. When I started my recovery, and then I made the decision to get back in college, and they accepted me. I wrote them like a 3 or 4 page letter saying I apologize, and I was an addict, and I'm in this program, a rehab facility, and I'm doing good. And they accepted me, put me on probation again, but they accepted me, gave me my financial aid back. So I was in school, been in school since I've been in my recovery, which is 3 years. I've been in recovery 3 years and like 4 months. I've been in college like 3 years, 6 months. So I told my the lady at the rehab I was going to graduate, and I'm doing good, and I'm going to be an inspiration. So she hires me, and I've been there ever since then. I've been there 6 months. I got hired in July. I work 3/12, so I got 4 days that I'm open. Like I can do anything I want. So instead of like, I'm a more kind of guy, like you said earlier. I want to be the best, so I want to keep busy. I want to keep moving. I think I'm ADHD because I'm always doing something. So I worked there 3 days, and my 4 days off, I will go work at this restaurant that I work at because I'm working there the whole time too. Like at the electrical job, I'm working there on weekends. I work 5 days a week at the electrical company. I'm working there 2 days on the weekend, and then I get this 3 days a week, and I'm like, all right, now I got 4 days I can work there. So I'm going there 4 days a week and working, or 3 days a week working, and I'm working at the rehab for three. And long story short, man, it's time consuming, but it keeps me busy, man. I'm doing real good. Uh, I started making videos and stuff on Facebook and like telling my story a little bit, like this right here, just in smaller clips. And I'm reaching a lot of people. I'm making a difference. I literally I get messages every single day from people like they don't know me that message me like, thanks for what you're doing. You're really helping me. I had a guy message me the other day. If he's watching this, he'll know. Um, he said, I want to thank you, man. He's got seen your video on TikTok. It sounds cheesy. He's got seen your video on TikTok and he's like, it changed my life. He's like, that day, he's like, I went to a detox in my town. And he's like, and right now I have 15 days clean. He's like, I want to thank you. And I'm like, God, man, like how can I make a difference like that? Like that's mind blowing. Um, I'm just a low life drug addict from Parkersburg, West Virginia, and he thanked me for that. And it's amazing. So I'm still working at this rehab and doing good. And they actually offered me a new position where I'm going to be moving up in the field because I graduate. I graduate college with my bachelor's degree in 2 weeks. My last day of college is December 6th, and I graduate on the 16th. I attend Ashland University out of Ohio. It's a Christian school. I'll be graduating with my bachelor's degree in communication with a double minor in business management and business administration. Um, it's humbling to say the least. Like no one in my family has graduated. My immediate family has graduated college. Um, like graduating high school is a major accomplishment, let alone like going to college and about to graduate. And I'm working 6, 7 days a week, no problem. I still go to the gym. I work out every day. Um, I'm in school still. Like I was going to make a status the other day because I make a lot of those. That I mean, drug addicts and people are different. Like I wasn't sure I was going to word it, but me and you's not the same because I mean, you work 8 hours a day and go lay at home in bed. I work 12-hour shifts. I go to the gym for 2, and then I go home and do schoolwork for 2 hours. You know what I mean? Add that up. That's 16 hours in one day, and then I try to wind down, and then I take a shower, and then I eat dinner. Like what I mean? I use that same, and someone was like, "How do you do it?" I'm like, we'll run it like this. I was like, when I was in active addiction, I was like, I started using 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. I woke up and got my phone out and started blowing people up, trying to make money, trying to, feed my hunger. I didn't stop until, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So if I can do keep that same energy or almost that same energy, but put it to good use, work, school, gym, healthy things, like why shouldn't I be able to do it and accomplish it? And that's what I've been doing, man. I've been keeping that same energy, I mean, literally, like I remember a couple weeks ago, I worked like 16-hour shifts in a row, and my manager's like, "How can you do this?" And I'm like, "Man, I was like, I did the same thing for 5 years in active addiction. Just I wasn't working at a job; I was working the streets. Um, it's amazing, and being able to change my life and like seeing where I went, where I was to where I am now is humbling. Like, I caused a lot of guilt and a lot of anguish and a lot of pain to a lot of people, and I'm rebuilding that. My mom's always been there for me. Even when I started going back, she's my biggest supporter. Her and my sister, but like a lot of people in my other family, part of my family, like they kind of lost hope in me. They thought I was going to be a failure, and by God's grace, I'm not. What I mean, I'm still a work in progress. I mean, I'm not perfect. No one's ever gonna be perfect. Um, but I'm working in the right direction, I lost connections with my uncles, my grandparents, what I mean? Like, they don't want me around. And, through my recovery and through the change that's happened in my life, what I mean? I'm building relationships back, like, I got a family member, and I'm sure he's watching this. He's a big supporter now too. He's in the law enforcement, man. And, when I was in active addiction, I remember one time I got pulled over and I was, they knew I was doing bad, and they looked at they looked at him like, what he wants to do with him. He's like, he ain't my nephew. Do what you want. He gave up on me. I mean, he's like, I don't want to mess with him. I ain't associated with him. We got the same name. uh, Today I could call him right now and I could talk to him for however long I want to talk to him for. He comments on my stuff all the time, saying he's proud of me and that he loves me. You know, we built that relationship back. You know what I mean? Like, I changed my life. You know, and he's proud of me, and that's one of the best things that I've ever felt. I just talked to this girl the other day, one of my friends, and she said she went into my dad's work, and she don't even know my dad, but she's seen him on my Facebook and stuff, and she's like, "Aren't you Michael Brown's dad?" And I guess he lit up, you know what I mean? It was like, "That's my boy," you know what I mean? Like, felt so good to say, like, "That's my son." Like, and she called me like right afterwards, like, "You never know what your dad just did." And I'm like, she told me, "So you should feel proud, like your dad, you know, and he's so proud of you." I'm like, dang, like that does feel really good, like, cause before, like I remember like the look in his face, like he loved me, but he's like he knew I was struggling, so he's just like depressed, mad at me, angry at me. I mean, he knew I was struggling, but now it's like he didn't even claim me probably before, but now someone's like, "That's my son." I heard that's your son. He's like, "That is my boy." You know what I mean? And that is the best thing ever. Like, and my mom, like, I went in town a few months ago. I'm backtrack a little bit. I surprised my mom, showed up on her, and she almost gave her a heart attack. Well, she's like, "You got to go to church with me. You got to go to church." And I'm like, "All right." So I go to church with her, man, and she's just so proud of me. She's like, literally, I don't think her church is huge. There's probably 500 people that attend 2 services a day, maybe more than that. I'm not sure. It's huge. And literally, if there was one person in that church that didn't know my name by the end of it or shake my hand, I don't know. I don't want to say I'm lying, but I would be lying. Like she literally was like, "This is my son. He's doing so good." Like, I'm like, "Thanks, mom." Like, and she always, if you see, like, she always comments on my page. Like, every status I post, she comments on, like, "I love you. I'm so proud of you." You know what I mean? Like, and it's a good feeling. I made the relationship back, and like, it's a grace of God. I love my family, and I'm glad that I'm able to make them happy with who I am today. And it's only up from here. So yeah, I'll stop talking, Justin.
Dude, you just, it's all good, man. You go as long as you want, man. There's no time limit. But such a good story, dude. And I'm so grateful to have met you, and and something we could share with on this platform, and brings people inspiration, man. You brought a lot of people inspiration tonight by hearing your story, man. But we had some people, some comments in here. Pretty much everybody says a great story. Love hearing it. Great testimony. One person wanted to know what you were incarcerated for. What was the charge? If you want to talk about it.
It is what it is. I hate not to, because I'd be lying again. You Google it. I was convicted of a non-violent. It was voluntary manslaughter. The actions that happened to me and this man got in an argument. He didn't know, though. You know what I mean? I'm not holding. Obviously, he had attacked me, and I was scared, and I fell to the ground. Anyways, it cost him his life. I tried to save him. I'm actually the only person that there was like 10 people there, and no one like wanted to help. You know what I mean? Like, no one. And I'm the only person. Like, and now I'm being honest again. I'm the only person that drug him to the vehicle to get him to the hospital. I'm the only person that tried. And if his family's watching, like, I swear to God, I'm sorry. Like, but I tried. You know what I mean? And he lost his life. And this is some guy who was living in my house. This is a friend of mine. You know what I mean? Because of drugs. You know what I mean? Because of things that I was doing. Like, and we were both doing the life we was living.
Yeah. I'm sorry, man, that I know it must be hard to even talk about it. It's just the truth of what our addiction will bring us to. We never know when we're going to cheat death or be a part of something where somebody else dies, and that's the truth of the facts, man. We're not the same people. We're pretty much like just somebody's taken over our body, and we're just there, and it's crazy how addiction just consumes us, and we're not the same people. I mean, look at you. I would never think you were a drug addict, bro. You know what I mean? Like, we never think. And then here we are, spreading inspiration, man, that you can get out of that vicious cycle of freaking hopelessness and be somebody else's, be a testimony to somebody, man. Because somebody might be going through the same shit you are. Somebody might be in prison right now. Somebody might just get out and have the same exact story as you. You never know who you're going to reach through this stuff. And that's what the beautiful part of social media is
Yeah.
that we can share it, man, and people will get inspiration from it and maybe want to change, just like you were talking about with that dude. He changed because of your story. You just putting out a TikTok video,
Yeah.
and then here he is 15 days freaking clean, man. I think that's awesome, man. I love that story. And, thanks for coming on here and sharing, man. I appreciate
it. No problem.
And that's it for tonight, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed Michael's story. This Sunday, we're going to be doing our Sunday night topics where we go on live and we have a bunch of people. Maybe we get Michael on here one Sunday, share on topics, have him come on here and share some topics with us. And we just share our experience, strength, and hope on certain topics that we picked during the week. You might get some inspiration from it. We hope that's what you get from it. And we'll be doing that this Sunday live, 8 p.m. right here on the Hope Shot. So if you haven't liked our page, go ahead and like our page. That way you get a notification when we go live. And again, thank you, Michael, for being on here tonight. And for everybody else, good night. We love you guys and hope to see you Sunday. Good night.